On Global TV News Express, President Tinubu reaffirms commitment to delivering reform benefits nationwide. In business, Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries says Nigeria's crude oil production largest in Africa. And on the foreign scene, polls close in Bangladesh crucial first election since ouster of Sheikh Hassani. In sports, Confederation of Africa Football begins stadium inspection ahead of African Cup of Nations 2027. Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to News Express on Global Television, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Anieti Patrick. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and StarTimes channel 276. President Bola Tinubu has assured Nigerians that the benefits of his renewed hope reforms will reach every state and community across the country. Speaking at the close of the second National Economic Council conference in Abuja, Tinubu urged governors and key stakeholders to move beyond dialogue and deliver measurable gains in jobs, infrastructure, food security, physical discipline, and social protection. Represented by Senate President Godswill Akpabio, President said reform is a continuous process requiring courage, coordination, and accountability, noting that stronger federal-state collaboration remains key to building a resilient and inclusive economy. Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu has appointed Ambassador Ismail Abba Yusuf as Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria, pending Senate confirmation. The presidency says the appointment follows the resignation of the former chairman and aligns with efforts to strengthen transparency, accountability, and operational efficiency in Nigeria's Hajj management. Tinubu expressed confidence that the former ambassador to Turkey will leverage his diplomatic and administrative experience to reposition the commission and improve services for Nigerian pilgrims. Vice President Kashim Shettima has departed Abuja for Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, to represent President Bola Tinubu at the 2026 African Union Summit, focused on sustainable water and sanitation under Agenda 2063. He will join other African leaders at the 39th Ordinary Session of the Assembly of Heads of States and Governments and the 30th AU General Assembly scheduled for February 14th and 15th. On the sidelines of the summit, Shettima is expected to hold bilateral meetings with political and business leaders to strengthen Nigeria's diplomatic and economic partnership before returning home after his engagement. Justice Obiora Egwatu of the Federal High Court in Abuja has withdrawn from 2 Economic and Financial Crimes Commission cases against former Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, citing personal reasons and the interests of justice. The cases include a multi-billion naira asset forfeiture suit involving 57 properties and an 8.7 billion naira money laundering charge against Malami, his wife, and son. The development follows a request for adjournment by Malami's counsel and comes after the cases were recently reassigned to Justice Egwatu by the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court. The new Nigeria People's Party has rejected a bill before the United States Congress seeking sanctions against its national leader, Rabiu Kwankwaso, over alleged religious freedom violations. The party described the proposed legislation as politically motivated and misleading, insisting that Kwankwaso has consistently condemned insecurity and religious extremism during and after his tenure as governor of Kano State. If passed into law, the bill could impose visa bans and asset freezes on individuals and entities accused of severe religious persecution in Nigeria. To legislative matters, the National Assembly has raised fresh concerns over declining budgetary allocations to Nigeria's agricultural sector, warning that funding cuts could undermine food security and economic recovery. The alarm was sounded during a joint session of Senate and House Committees on Agricultural Production, Services and Rural Development. where the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security defended its 2026 budget proposal. Our correspondent tells us more. Presenting the proposal, Minister of State for Agriculture and Food Security, Senator Aliyu Abdullahi, said government interventions are anchored on President Bola Tinubu's Food Security Emergency Declaration, with efforts focused on expanding production, strengthening value chains, and improving farmer resilience. However, he admitted that delayed capital releases under the 2025 budget have slowed program execution. About 30% of the ministry's capital allocation, roughly 18 billion naira, is yet to be released, limiting support for farmers nationwide.
If you ask me if we are satisfied with what we have, because it's a rollover, otherwise we have some very good projects we have started, which we would have loved to have funding for. And I believe the rollover is now a constraint for us because we will not be able to have additional funds for those.
Meanwhile, for 2026, the agricultural sector is projected to receive about 1 trillion naira, with 262 billion naira earmarked for capital expenditure within the ministry. Despite this, lawmakers expressed concern over what they describe as a sharp drop in overall allocation to the sector. Chairman of the House Committee on Agricultural Production, Bello Kaoje, noted that while total national expenditure is expected to rise to 58.47 trillion naira in 2026, agriculture's allocation declined from 2.22 trillion naira in 2025 to 1.45 trillion naira. Similarly, Senate Committee Chairman Senator Saliu Mustafa stressed that agriculture remains Nigeria's strongest pathway to poverty reduction and job creation, urging timely release of funds to stabilize the nation's food system.
I therefore recommend that the federal government should prioritize adequate budgetary allocation and prompt release of agricultural and sector funds, alongside strengthening implementation mechanism.
Lawmakers say the 2026 budget must be evidence-based, performance-driven, and aligned with national priorities to ensure improved food supply, farmer livelihoods, and sustainable economic growth. From the National Assembly, Aniye. The Senate has expressed fresh concern over the persistent wave of terrorist attacks across the country, describing the nation's security situation as troubling. The alarm was raised during the 2026 Budget Defense and 2025 Performance Review of the Ministry of Defense. Again, our correspondent tells us more. Lawmakers at the National Assembly pressed the Ministry of Defense for answers as insecurity continues to challenge several parts of the country. Chairman of the Senate Committee on Defense, Ahmed Lawan, said the budget defense was taking place at a difficult moment for Nigerians grappling with renewed attacks and loss of lives. The former president of the Senate described the security situation as worrisome and stressed the need for intensified efforts to curb terrorism and restore public confidence.
Our reality in the last 50 years has been that of battling terrorists and insurgents that have succeeded in carrying out kidnappings, mass abductions of communities and students, massacres, arson, and so on and so forth.
Responding, the Minister of Defense, Major General Christopher Musa, retired, acknowledged the ongoing security threats but assured the committee that military operations across the country remain active and strategic. He told lawmakers that troops are recording gains in various theaters of operation and reaffirmed the armed forces' commitment to defending Nigeria's territorial integrity and safeguarding citizens. From the public session, the committee moved into a closed-door meeting to deliberate on sensitive operational matters, project implementation, and budgetary details presented by the ministry. The outcome of the deliberations is expected to shape defense funding priorities for the 2026 fiscal year. From the National Assembly, Aniye. The federal government has called on traditional and religious leaders across Nigeria to play a critical role in improving healthcare delivery nationwide. The Coordinating Minister, Health and Social Welfare, Professor Ali Pate, made the call during a press briefing ahead of the National Traditional and Religious Leaders Summit on Health 2026 in Abuja. Zarau Nasir was there for Global TV.
The Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Muhammad Ali Fateh, says traditional and religious leaders are key influences in their communities, especially when it comes to maternal and child health. He explained that the summit aims to sensitize Nigerians and strengthen collaboration with community gatekeepers.
Traditional and religious leaders are so vital in our country that we also have to engage them as a group for the roles that they have played in immunization, in maternal and child health and other areas, TB, HIV, but they can also do more. But they also will be able to bring the perspectives of their citizens, of the people in the areas where they are, so that they can further help us refine our ideas.
Professor Fateh added that the summit will also feature discussions on a policy dialogue on Nigeria and the United States memorandum supporting national response to HIV, tuberculosis and malaria.
We will use the opportunity also to have a structured dialogue on the Nigeria-US MOU for supporting HIV, TB and malaria. So the briefing, of course, is to share with you some of what we will also share, whether it's on the Health Fellows Program or on the US Nigeria MOU.
The ministry says engaging these influential community figures is a strategic move to bring healthcare closer to the people and ensure more effective health interventions nationwide. Zahra Unasir, reporting for Global TV.
Governor Hyacinth Alia has condemned the killing of 22 persons, including a police officer, and renewed attacks on Awase and Abade communities in Kwande local government area of Benue State. The governor, who led heads of security agencies on a one-on-one on-the-spot assessment of the affected areas, has pledged improved security, deployment and infrastructure to curb further violence. Our correspondent Felicity Ndere tells us more.
These are some of the deserted communities in Kwande local government area following the recent attacks by unknown gunmen suspected to be armed Fulani herders.
What you're seeing now is the resurfacing of the attacks, and this is why I have to be here myself to encourage people to strengthen them.
Governor Hyacinth Alia, while condemning the attacks, described them as unprovoked and unacceptable, and assured residents of strengthened cooperation with security agencies and the provision of necessary logistics to restore peace in the affected communities.
Road work from Jatoka, Ngihimba, Tomotan, and 2 other settlements by the road before Awase are treated. So we'll take care of that, and there's no network here. Again, it's one immediate work I need to be on top of to ensure that they have very good network.
The Deputy Commissioner of Police Operations, Benue State Command, said communities in Benue State have endured years of repeated attacks by armed men, resulting in numerous deaths and the displacement of thousands.
The community made mention that at the Cameroon boundary, very close to Jukun area of Taraba, there is an exit and the entry point of these armed herders. So if we can deploy the military to secure those areas, I think they will not be able to penetrate these axes.
Residents and local authorities have called for increased security presence to prevent further attacks.
We can't have bandits in the forest who will come out, kill people at will, freely, and then go back and live in those forests and then nothing is happening. So I also urge the federal government to liaise with the state government so that we can bring succor to these people.
So the in-law now sent a message that they should tell his in-law to do away with his sister, because there will be a serious attack to Abande. So we now prepare that let them come. But on the market day, everybody was not stable, so we all went to the market, and they now came.
Why I say so is that anytime we are to experience an attack, the security here will have one excuse or the other that will make them not to be present, and immediately they are absent, they will experience an attack.
Benue State, known as the food basket of the nation, plays a critical role in Nigeria's food security framework. Residents fear that continued attacks could disrupt farming activities, drive up food prices, and threaten the safety in their ancestral homes. In Kwandi, Felicity Ndere reporting for Global Television News.
You're watching the live broadcast of News Express. News Express continues after this weather forecast, plus business, foreign and sports stories on the other side of this break. Please stay with us.
You're welcome. We're expecting a noticeable rise in daytime temperatures across the country, bringing generally warmer conditions, particularly over the northern region. As this heat builds, it's likely to trigger more active weather, with storm development expected over parts of the southern cities. Moving into Thursday morning, thunderstorms are anticipated over parts of Cross River, Akwa Ibom, Delta, some parts of Rivers, Ondo, Lagos, Ogun, and Imo states. As we head into the afternoon and evening hours, storm activities is expected to intensify to affect most areas across the southeast, extending into Ondo, Osun, some parts of Ekiti, Ogun, Lagos, Edo Delta, and the coastal belt. There are also chances of thunderstorms over parts of Kogi, Nasarawa, Benue, the Federal Capital Territory, some parts of Kwara, and the Mambila Plateau in Taraba State. Residents in affected areas are advised to stay weather aware and be safe. Thank you for watching.
It's good to have you back on News Express. In business, the latest monthly reports of the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, says Nigeria has retained its position as Africa's largest crude oil producer with output of 1.45 million barrels per day. Although production fell short of the country's 1.5 million barrel per day quota, the figure kept Nigeria ahead of Libya and other continental producers. OPEC said the data were obtained through direct communication with the Nigerian authorities and secondary sources, highlighting ongoing efforts to stabilize outputs despite operational and security challenges. Nigeria recorded about $21 billion in capital importation in the first 10 months of 2025, representing a 75% increase compared to the previous year. Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Jumoke Oduwole, told lawmakers the surge followed over 100 bilateral investment engagements with partners including the United Kingdom, United States, UAE, Brazil, and Japan. Oduwole also stated that the United Kingdom accounted for the largest share of inflows, while Nigeria also recorded a trade surplus and double-digit export growth during the period. And on the foreign scene, Bangladesh is holding its first general election since mass student-led protests in 2024 ended Sheikh Hasina's 15-year rule. The Awami League has been barred from contesting as voters choose a new government and participate in a constitutional referendum under an interim administration led by Nobel laureate Mohammed Yunus. The election follows months of unrest and a deadly crackdown that reshaped the country's political landscape and triggered international concern. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney has called the mass shooting in the country's remote town of Tumbleweed an act of unheard of cruelty, declaring that the nation is in mourning. While speaking to Parliament, Prime Minister Carney noted that the incident has left the nation in shock. Uyi Agumofegbe has the details.
Authorities say 9 people were killed in the incident that also impacted the residents in the small northern British Columbia community. Police, however, said the shooter was found dead with a self-inflicted injury. The police have identified the suspect as Jeze Van Rostella, an 18-year-old who had prior mental calls to her home. She was found dead following the attack. The Prime Minister summarily described the impact of the shooting as devastating, while commending first responders, paramedics, and teachers for their courage.
What happened has left our nation in shock and all of us in mourning. 9 people killed, more than 25 others injured, some still in hospital fighting for their lives. I want to express my profound gratitude to the first responders, the RCMP officers who entered immediately that school, not knowing what awaited them, to the paramedics and medical staff at the Tumbler Ridge Health Center, to the teachers and the school staff who acted with extraordinary courage to protect the children in their care.
Royal Canadian Mounted Police Deputy Commissioner Dwayne MacDonald said Rostella had a history of mental health contact with police and that the suspect's mother and stepbrother were found dead in a home near the school. The motive behind the shooting remains unclear. Prime Minister Carney also urged Canadians to understand that while investigation is ongoing, law enforcement should be allowed the space and time to do their job accordingly. Uyi Agmofwegbe reporting for Global TV News.
And in sport, the Confederation of Africa Football has begun stadium and infrastructure inspections in Tanzania, Uganda and Kenya ahead of the 2027 Africa Cup of Nations. Technical experts are assessing pitch quality, safety, security and training facilities as part of preparations for the first ever 3-nation hosting of the tournament. CAF President Patrice Motsepe is also scheduled to visit the region as organizers intensify efforts to meet world-class hosting standards. The Organization of Military Sports in Africa, OSMA, is throwing its weight behind efforts to reposition shooting sports in Nigeria. OSMA President Major General Abdullahi Mekano pledged institutional support to the Nigeria Shooting Sports Federation in a renewed drive to restore the country's lost dominance in sports. Our correspondent tells us more. Nigeria's shooting sports may be on the brink of survival. That assurance came in Abuja when the board of the Nigeria Shooting Sports Federation, led by its president, Commodore Mohammed Shetima, paid a courtesy visit to the president of OSMA, Major General Abdullahi Mekano. OSMA president congratulated the newly elected executives and charged them to take deliberate steps towards restoring the nation's lost glory in shooting sports. He pledged OSMA's full backing, including rehabilitation of shooting ranges, introduction of annual championships, strengthened international collaborations, and structured military-civilian integration.
Partnership in the sense that how the two organizations, the OSMA and the Nigerian Shooting Federation, will join hands together to be organizing shooting competition. Beyond competition,
inclusivity is also a major focus as OSMA's president emphasized that shooting sports can serve as a rehabilitation platform for wounded soldiers, noting that only a few African countries currently operate structured systems for such integration. Meanwhile, discussions for a memorandum of understanding are already underway, with both parties reviewing a framework to institutionalize the partnership.
Now we have a vibrant shooting federation here in Nigeria, which anytime we are going to have a competition, a championship of shooting, my organization will quickly have, already we have an understanding, with them. We are going to call them to assist us in whatever way.
Earlier, Nigeria Shooting Sports Federation President Commodore Mohammed Shetima welcomed the collaboration, insisting that the partnership must be institutional rather than personality-driven. Shetima highlighted job creation for retired military weapons instructors as a key component of the partnership, noting that many retire without opportunities to deploy their specialized skills.
Definitely it will include looking for more talents through grassroots engagement. We want to start the shooting tournament through geopolitical zones. By the time we harness them from the geopolitical zones, we escalate it to the national level, then to the international level.
With the proposed MOA nearing completion, stakeholders say the collaboration could mark a major turning point, opening new pathways for athletes' development, rehabilitation initiatives, and stronger global representation for Nigeria in shooting sports. Anieti Patrick. As Global TV News Express comes to an end, let's take a look at our top stories. On Global TV News Express, President Bola Tinubu has assured Nigerians that the benefits of his renewed hope reforms reach every state and community across the country. In business, the latest monthly reports of the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, says Nigeria has retained its position as Africa's largest crude oil producer with output of 1.45 million barrels per day. On the foreign scene, Bangladesh is holding its first general election since mass student-led protests in 2024 ended Sheikh Hasina's 15-year rule. And in sports, the Confederation of African Football has begun stadium and infrastructure inspections in Tanzania, Uganda, and Kenya ahead of the 2027 Africa Cup of Nations. And that's it on News Express. A quick reminder that Global TV is on DSTV channel 365 and StarTimes channel 276. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms now showing on your screen using @Global TV NG. I am Anieti Patrick. Thank you for watching.